It's Saturday, and I'm back with you with part 5 of my very long story on how I was almost homeless. So go grab your drink and your snack and get comfortable, and let's finish this story, hopefully, because it's long. So in the last video on this story, I talked about how Jack cheated and I kicked him out and we broke up. So basically, it was me, my godson, my friend Jane, and her boyfriend Brian, who were all living in the apartment. And Brian worked at a place, and I worked at a different place than he did. And I believe he quit that job for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure as to why he quit. I think it was because of the hours or something, and they weren't working with him, or whatever happened. So he was in the process of looking for another job. And so for a while, it was only me working. And due to me having a concussion and due to me having a cyst and all of these things and being on a leave of absence for workman's comp, basically, we hit a tough spot where we really didn't have money going in. And if you would like to see, or if you would like to hear those stories, leave me a comment down below, because I will be more than willing to tell you those stories, and I might even do them regardless, but definitely let me know if you would like to hear that. But anyways, during all of that process, I was trying to get on Medicaid, and I was trying to get on food stamps, and so was Brian, and we figured, we're both trying to do it, so why not do it as a household? We tried to do it separate, and then the place was like, it would be easier for you guys to qualify if you did it together as a household, so we went ahead and did that. Neither of us made enough, so they wanted us to go to a thing called Work First. And so during the whole process of that, that required me to take some days off of work. And due to management at my job, we kept losing managers. And so I had set up all of these dates that I had to go for this with my previous manager. And, she had someone there to be able to fill in for me when I wasn't there. Well, because she quit, the other person who came in to fill in for her from higher up, before all of that was situated, and before I even got to fulfill all of my dates for the Work First classes, for my workman's comp doctor visits, for the visit that I needed to be able to get my cyst lanced, the whole 9 yards. And it was very hectic, and having a concussion and having the lancing and having those Work First classes, they put a lot of toll on me and my job at the time. And it just infuriated the person who was the boss or the manager or whatever. And knowing all of the struggles that I had gone through since starting that job, and I was there for a year, and to see him treat me the way that he was treating me because of these things, because of my restrictions, because of what I was and was not able to do, and my limit, and all of that, I ended up quitting. And again, if you would like to know the full story on that, let me know in the comments down below, and I will definitely record, that story for my Saturday stories. So, through the Work First class, both Brian and myself got a job at another place together, which was nice because, like I was saying before, with both Sally and Ruby, working with them, you kind of understand, you know, how much money they're making because you're working with them in the same department, in the same, you know, whatever, earning the same amount of money. So you know where they're at, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So we were both working there, and both he and I had a lot of complications working here. The job is a good place. They do put out good, you know, things, and I do recommend that people go there. But to be an employee, it's a little hectic, I kind of want to say, because I had certain things that were happening to me because I kept getting sick or whatever, and there was different departments and different sections that you could work, and I didn't feel like they were listening to me when I had asked to be moved from one area to another because I kept getting sick. And I believe Brian ended up getting fired from this job, and I ended up quitting, which put us back in a tough situation where both people who are bringing in the money don't have a job, and if both of those people don't have a job, then there is no money coming in, and there is nobody outside of our apartment that we could talk to who was willing to pay our entire rent in order for us to continue living there. I also got a notice on my door talking about how they're raising the prices of the apartment. So even if we were able to, you know, give them the money for, you know, for rent or whatever, we weren't going to be able to stay there much longer because they were raising it. And if we were already having trouble with the rent at this moment, we were going to definitely have trouble later on. So being fired and quitting jobs around the same time when neither of us have a job is not the best idea, and we basically were not able to pay rent on time. And, you know, we got a notice on our door talking about eviction, you know, and they were saying something about 3 days. 3 days until you get evicted, 3 days until you get kicked out, or something like that. In my head, it sounded to me that if we didn't bring the money to them in those next 3 days of receiving the notice, then they were going to put up an eviction notice saying that you have 30 days from this to get out. And then after talking with them a little bit, it sounded like I had 3 days to give them either the keys or the money. And if they didn't have either the keys or the money in those 3 days, then they would issue a eviction notice. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what that was. I went down there and I was trying to, you know, be forward with them and say, hey, he lost his job, I lost my job. Is there anything that we can do to work with you a little bit? And this is why we haven't paid rent or whatever. They were not willing to work with us a little bit on the fact that, you know, they still needed that because the rent was already overdue. Maybe if we had gone and talked to them ahead of time before rent was due, they might have worked with us a little bit. But they just knew that they didn't have rent and they wanted rent, so they did not care what was going to happen. They didn't care that neither of us had a job. They were basically, well, get a job and give us rent money, and if you don't, then we're evicting you. So I said, well, I don't want that on my record. Is there a way that I can fix this to where I don't have an eviction on my record or their record? And she basically said that you can bring me the keys, you can bring me the money, and if you don't have those things, then we have to evict you. So that's why I was thinking, okay, within 3 days of getting this notice, if we don't give them the keys or the money, we're gone. So I was basically like, okay, we gotta look for a place. We have to find somewhere else to go because we're getting kicked out. And Rose had offered that I go and live with her and move her stuff over with her. And I was like, I cannot do that because I'm not going to be the reason why both Jane and Brian and my godson move in, have them get evicted to be homeless, and then put myself in a house. So I did not want to do that because they couldn't come with me. My parents said the same thing, and again, I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to have to leave them on the street while I got to live in a house. So I had this thing called the Janus Funds that my grandparents and my mom set up when I was born. And I used that money in order to buy a storage unit for all of our stuff. My parents said that I could use their garage for my important stuff, but I was like, I don't have time to go through all of my stuff to be able to pick out what's important and what's not. And if I can't add their stuff too so that their stuff can be safe, then I don't want to do it at all. So I needed a storage unit. So I spent my Janus Funds on that. And then I spent it on helping us live in a hotel. We were looking for places. We went and looked at them, and they were saying that we weren't qualified for it. We even had his mom and his sisters come and try to help and everything, and it just wasn't working out. Also, I heard my parents yelling for me just a minute, so you might hear someone knock on my door. Heads up. But you know, so that happened, and we basically gave them the keys. If the keys were not in or around the office by Monday morning when they came in for work to open up the apartment complex, then we were getting an eviction notice, and we were out of there, and we checked into a hotel. We lived in the hotel for a week, and after that one was up, we lived in a second hotel for a week. I did have another boyfriend at the time that I had just started dating. His name is not really this, but it's his code name, so it's Tallahassee. Because I don't know what other name to give him. But Tallahassee was like, well, I don't want you to have to go through this alone. I want to help you with this. So he actually moved from his parents' house down to me and was living in the hotels with me and my friend, and you know, all of this. We got the storage unit, and then thankfully, Brian's extended family was like, hey, we can fit you in here for a little while until you get on your feet. And we were able to then get out of the hotels and go and live with them for a little bit, in which Tallahassee and myself went and lived with my mom and dad for a while after living with them, and then we moved to his parents' house. So yeah, that is basically the story on how I almost became homeless. It's not really like a finale or anything like super huge. It was just, we made some bad decisions and we weren't really communicating, and because of those things, we weren't able to come up with the money on time, and instead of getting evicted, we had to just give in the keys. So that is what I chose to do. So yeah. So if you enjoyed this long story and you have any stories that you would like to know about or to hear, or you know, you have any questions about me that you would like me to tell you, and hopefully I can turn that into a story, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe so that you can get all of my videos. I upload Saturday stories every Saturday. I upload sim stories every Sunday, and I try to do a daily vlog every day. So yeah, that's it for this Saturday story. I hope you enjoyed it. So leave me a like, a comment, and subscribe.